Hello, hello, and welcome to what is going to be a really cool episode. It's going to be vulnerable. It's going to be fucking hilarious. I can guarantee you that. It's going to be super heart-led, and there's going to be some shit that we talk about that might be kind of hard to listen to. So I just want to, we both, Lacey and I, want to give you a trigger warning on that. This might be difficult at times because we're going to be really honest about our upbringing, about our lives, about what we've learned, the wisdom we have now, all these different things. And like you just heard, Lacey is here. My fucking sister's on the podcast, which is pretty fucking cool. We actually recorded a podcast last spring, right before we went on our first ever sister vacation, which was fucking really awesome anyways. And it's really weird that that's the first time we ever took a vacation like that together, but it's true. It was our first adult sister vacation. But we recorded that podcast episode and I re-listened to it and it was going to go live and it had to stay personal. Like the stuff that Lacey and I talked about was really difficult. Like I learned shit about my sister that was really vulnerable that she went through. We talked about really difficult stuff and it just felt right in my gut to not share that and to re-record. And I'm really glad that we did because looking back now, I feel like Lacey, both of us are in completely different places in life than we were a year
Oh,
ago.
100%. Last year was not great.
Right. Well, we're different women. We're in different places physically and mentally, both of us. Like it's so much has changed. So I'm really grateful that I got that nudge from universe, God, divine, whatever word, because this feels like the right podcast. This feels like the right episode. That felt like a time that you and I needed anyways, just to be able to sit and talk about difficult shit. So Lacey is here. Like I said, I'm gonna say Lacey Powell. I don't know if is
Yes,
that. Thank you.
yes.
We what?
Just so you know, my name has changed. And that's why she's
Good.
asking. She
I
does
love
know my
that
last
for you.
name.
Yeah, Lacey and I have had our fair share of what it feels like to go through a divorce as a woman, what it feels like to go through a divorce as a child. And so I was just checking in to make sure that her last name was back to our maiden name, Powell. So Lacey Powell is
Yep.
here, my sister, and you are one of the strongest human beings I've ever met in my life, honestly. There are very few people on this earth that can hold the energy of, I will outwork you, I will outsmart you, and I will whoop your fucking ass while they hold the energy of the biggest heart and would give the shirt off their back. And
We're not
that's,
supposed to be making each other cry on this.
well, fuck you. That's how I introduce people, is just being honest from my
No,
heart.
I
And
appreciate that.
I just am really grateful that you're my sister because there's been a lot of time in the last 15 years or so that we've been getting to know who each other are because we didn't get that opportunity as children or even as teenagers. And it's really cool to get to know you. And it's even cooler to watch you grow because those things that I just said have always been substantial within you. You've always been fucking reckless. And I love that about you, but I'm your big sister, so it scares the shit out of me. And you've always followed your own path and you've always fucking done it with a big open heart and you bring people together. And I even told you on our sister trip, I'm like, how do you just get people to do things for you? Like people want to do things for you. Like you're just a really cool human and I'm really proud of you and I'm really grateful you're my sister. So
You, Heather.
Lacey, would you like to introduce yourself to the whole damn wide world and say hello?
Yes, I'm Lacey. I'm Heather's sister. People think I'm the older sister, but I'm not.
Right. You're just much taller.
I'm much taller. I am a woman who has been through a struggling childhood. I have been divorced now twice. I'm actually now in the part of my life where I'm flourishing and I'm found the light where I feel like it's not the end of the tunnel in a bad way, but in a great way. I finally found my peace. And to get through that, that's why we're here to talk about it.
I fucking love that. I remember talking to you on the phone, like the first time that we talked about like you leaving this past relationship, this marriage, and the reasons why you wanted to leave it and what it meant for you to live in a healthy home, in a safe home, in a home with love, in a home with respect. And you
We
and I
didn't know
both
what it
know.
was.
Right. And you and I both know, like, we are not saying that Lacey and I are fucking saints. Like, we are flawed like every fucking human And so there are always two sides, three sides to the story, yours, theirs, and the truth, of course. But it was really hard for you because there
Yeah.
was so much lack of respect and accountability and there was a lot on your shoulders that most women never have to carry. And I don't want you to feel forced to share too much from our childhood
I'm an
or
open
yours
book.
personally. But like, dude, like you said, like it's really fucking hard to leave a relationship as an adult when you've never known healthy relationships your whole life. And that's not an excuse. It's just what it fucking is. And then you realize one day, I've been in these type of relationships my whole life. I don't know what it feels like to have a healthy relationship. What does that mean? Is if there's no chaos, am I going to be bored? Like, what the fuck? Am
Well,
I
it's
going
a
to
subconscious
self-sabotage?
feeling.
Yeah, continue because I would love to know, like, how did that feel for you?
Well, I mean, that's just it. It's a very subconscious thing. You go through your whole life thinking this is what I need to be and not realizing you're living in chaos and that's what you were brought up in, that's what you feel comfortable in. And when you finally say, I can't do this anymore, and you really open your eyes to a different perspective of it, and you see the way you should be treated by somebody, the way you should be living and stuff like that, it's trust me, it's a hard adjustment because your body's so used to that chaos. Um, but it's a sense of comfort to you have an instant calm when you finally realize, okay, let's try this. Let's try to live a different path or have somebody come into your life that brings it into you and opens that whole part up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, I mean, whether you're speaking from like a more spiritual side or even, you know, you're very religious. Like we're
Yeah.
that's the one thing that we don't really we are similar because I personally believe it's the same stuff. It's just different words that we're using. And you and I have
Hmm.
talked about that. But like that's something that's so deep in spirituality, religion, or in the sciences, relationships one of the main purposes for them, of course, is love and connection and all of those things. But also, they're there to teach us.
Yeah.
And when you're in a relationship, especially when you become much more aware, like you were talking about, like you reach a level where you're no longer living in autopilot. It's no longer get up, do this shit, go to work. Like you start to live and be aware and intentional. When you do that, you start to see the people that you've been in relationships with, and you start to see patterns, and you're like, no,
Yep.
I see that. And then you start to see opportunities for growth within yourself inside of your new partner. You
Hmm.
see different ways of living and you have conversations, but then you also start to notice your behaviors. Like, I'll give an
Very much so.
example. Yeah, like when Trav and I first started together right before we moved, he's like, you have got to tell me about who you are deeper. Like, I need to know more. And I didn't want to tell him about our mom. Like, I don't want you to run away to the fucking hills. And I just remember like sitting there shaking, which I didn't know it as much then. I mean, I did, but I didn't really pay attention to it. But it's living in survival. It's my body was just like,
Yep.
and I was like, I don't want to tell him. I don't want to tell him. I'm going to tell him the truth. And he's going to be like, this bitch is crazy. Her life is crazy. I don't want to be involved in this. And it was in that moment that I was like, if I want this person in my life, if I want him to stay, I have to be really honest and trust that if
Hmm.
it's meant to be, it will. I need to trust the words that come out of my mouth because, as you know, when we talk about our childhood, it's fucking hard. Like, it's
Well,
hard.
I think it's harder for you to talk about than it is for me. I don't mind
Yeah,
talking about it. I think it's hard to see how other people react to the things you
for
say because
sure.
time they might not believe you, and you're like, "This really happened," and they think you're crazy, and you're like, "No, this really happened."
Right. So, what was an example? Would you mind sharing an example from your more recent relationship and how you kind of saw that?
Yeah. So, well, backstory a little bit. I am now in a new relationship that is very vulnerable, very open, very raw. I mean, that, by the way, that's the key. Communication, openness. Don't hide anything because if you hide something, it's never going to work.
Right.
Um, with this, I mean, me and him started our relationship with just communicating. So we wanted to learn about each other, over the phone, over messages and stuff like that. And explaining how our family dynamic is and not saying all of our family is bad or anything, but we have
Right. Got
real
some
winners.
shit. You got some shit.
And trying to tell them about that. I mean, it's really, I don't have any specific examples because there's a lot of them, but
Right.
it's really worrisome. Like, how are they going to react about that, especially coming from somebody who had a very loving, nurturing family, um, that doesn't know what it's like to have that chaos all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, having that person say, you know what, I'm here for you, instead of saying, oh my God, that's like the epitome moment. Like, wow, they listen and they're not judging me about it.
Yeah. It's, I think that kind of reminds me too of conversations that we had about like the masculine and feminine energy and how when you grow up in chaos as a woman, not all the time, but for us, I know it's true. We grew up in that chaos and it made us very masculine. And
Me
we
more
also
so
grew
than
up
you, yeah.
for sure. And well, we grew up on farms and you were way more into the farming than I was. Like, but this was our environment, blue collar men, construction, farming. Like when you're a
Hmm.
woman or a little girl growing up in that, and you more so because you were living with dad most of the time. So like that's a different dynamic as well.
Yeah.
Like you learn how to hold a sword and a shield and you learn how to put up walls and you learn how to fucking just do all this
Like
shit.
yourself. Hmm.
Yeah, and you become very independent and very much of a lone wolf type in ways. And it does take a special type of human, and it takes us women like us bringing our walls down and being willing to bring our walls down because we've done certain work internally. But it takes a special type of person to come in that allows us to feel safe enough to be feminine and to put
100%.
that sword and shield down and to be like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be ready for absolute chaos and fire and destruction. I can just be peaceful and I'm safe.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly how it was for me. Because in my past relationships, I mean, it's a true statement when they say you marry somebody that you've been around your whole life. You do, and it doesn't work. Because, well, if you have a wonderful family, maybe, but the
Yeah.
way we were raised, it didn't work. And coming into this, I was very masculine. I was very independent. I worked 70 hours a week. I had two kids running an entire farm by myself. And coming into this as a very, very masculine woman, I have learned, not even learned, I felt comfortable enough where I, for the first time in my life, want to wear dresses, want to get my nails done, want to do my hair. I have somebody who will pick up my dish when I'm done eating, or say, you want me to go get you something from the grocery store, something simple like that. I mean, letting those walls down, saying, I don't have to do everything, and not, don't expect it, but he just does it. It's really weird feeling and hard to adjust. But once you finally let those walls down, it's so nurturing, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
that's such a good word is nurturing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something and I might cry. Like I'm bleeding currently, so I'm teary-eyed fucking anyways. But like when you said that, it just hit me and it's obvious, but it hit me different. Like, I'm gonna just get my Kleenex ready. The nurturing means so much to us because we've never had that.
No, never. We
Ah,
had some from our grandmother, but I
right.
mean, we get that from you, and you're supposed to get that from everybody, but our grandmother practically raised us.
Grandma Sherry's the best grandma in the whole world. She's
Whole
so
world,
great.
whole world. And, but nobody else in our family, we didn't know what that was. We
Yeah.
really did not know what that was. And then to have it come in your life, you're like, shock. You're like, oh my
Right.
God, what is this? Why are you being so nice? Why are you not letting me, like, why are you doing things and not me?
Yeah. Well, and you
Yeah.
go through all the emotions then. Like it's such,
Oh
it
yeah.
is self-development is required in order to have a conscious, healthy relationship, obviously. But
Yeah.
when you live it, it feels like that. It feels like, is the rug going to get pulled out? Do I need to feel guilty for not getting up and doing something? I remember,
Very much that.
yeah. Dude, there were so many years in the 2 years, 2.5 years we lived in Tennessee. I'd be on my phone just doing nothing wrong, just
Hmm.
being a human being, relaxing after work on my phone. And Travis would come in the room and I'd put my phone down.
Hmm.
And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, anything. I just feel like I should be doing something right now and I'm just relaxing. I'm sorry. Like he's like,
Yep.
it's fine. And I'm like, it's such an auto response that I didn't fully know that I had until I was in a relationship where somebody looked at me and they're like, you can just sit, right?
Well, I mean, honestly, that's a big thing for me too. I get it because our whole lives we've had it like you're lazy, you won't do anything. We just want a moment to relax. When you are
Yeah.
100 miles per hour in total chaos all the time, your body is so used to that. And when you relax, you're like, holy crap,
Yeah.
you
Dude, I
know?
remember when you came up to Wisconsin before we left and you were like laying in the sun and you were like, dude, it feels so good to just lay here.
Yeah. Well, at that moment in time, I was not freshly, but I was halfway through my divorce
Yeah.
and I needed a moment of relaxation. I needed a moment to just breathe and not think and not focus on everything going on and just to sit there and absorb some vitamin D. I was like, oh, this is fucking nice.
It was. I'm glad that we did that. I feel like we need more of those. I mean, obviously we do because they need to happen. But that
Hmm.
first one was like ripping a band-aid off, at least for me, because I was like, what's this gonna be like? Like I was nervous to go on a vacation with my own sister.
Kidding
Oh yeah, we have to
me?
show them our tattoos. Lacey, will you tell them what our tattoos say?
It says she is stronger and it has a lot of meaning. Bullhorns with she is stronger. There's so much meaning behind that because being told that you're pretty much worthless your whole life, I firmly believe that I can get through anything. I mean, and I
Mhm.
have. And it just every time I have a moment of doubt, I just look down and I'm so grateful that we got that tattoo. It really does mean a huge amount.
Agreed. Same.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me because of what it says, which is like the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about next, which is song lyrics, because music means everybody that's listener knows, music means an enormous amount to me. Like I make playlists for my clients. Like it's love language. But music also means a lot to you, and it's something that we bond over
Yeah.
quite a bit. So I thought a really cool idea would be for us to bring some lyrics to some country songs that we really like. So we're going to
Yeah.
talk about those here in a second. But I agree, like this, the words "she is stronger." I remember sitting in the tattoo shop with you last year, and like we were kind of trying to figure out exactly how to say it. And I remember when you said it, you're like, "That's fucking it. Like that's what we're doing," and it hit because I was like, "Bro." It's perfect. It encapsulates everything for both of us that like together on that
Hmm.
trip, but also both of us individually because for you, you're stronger than everything that's happened to you. You're stronger than all those fucking words of worthlessness that are fucking untrue. Like you're stronger than all this shit. And then for me as well, like we have this journey, like everybody, we have a life that we fucking lived. And in ours, these words really stand true because that's the only choice we had.
Yeah.
And
You don't have a choice. You have to be stronger.
right. And I mean, I don't mean that in like a sad sap way. I mean it in an empowering way of like,
Yeah.
we decided at a very young age, there's no fucking choice other than to become better. That's it.
Yes.
Like the alternative is not a fucking choice because we saw the alternative. We
Yeah.
saw what we could become if we chose to. And we were like, absolutely fucking not. Like, we both have traits that we're probably going to find out later in life that we get to work through because I know there's shit that comes up in me sometimes and I'm like, oh, that looks familiar, Heather. That looks fucking familiar. That happened when you were young. But like just normally, because we're two humans that grew up in an area, like we're gonna have certain traits of the people that we grew up with, and that'll never change. It'll just be who we are.
Well, and see,
But
that's a oh, go on with your butt.
no, I think your butt is
Let's talk about your butt,
that's
Heather.
it. But what I was about to say, I think, is what you're about to say.
What I was gonna say is, there's two ways you could go, like you said with that. You can either use it as a strength from what you don't want to become, what you've seen, what you've lived, or you can go the wrong way. And unfortunately, a lot of people go that wrong way. And
Yeah,
to get back and be able to say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm doing better. I'm going to be stronger. I am not going to become that. It takes a lot I mean, I'm a firm believer in all three of us siblings that we chose paths that are not normal, but they're great. You know,
yeah,
we're both, or all three of us are very empowered to get things done because we are not going to be that.
yeah. we really learned at a young age to, I mean, we still care because we're human, but we
Oh,
learned in
100%.
our own way not to give a fuck what people say and think.
Yeah.
Like, like it still affects us. We're humans, but not enough to stop us.
No. Nope. I mean, granted, I'm one of those people like I am a people pleaser, and I think you were at one point too. I don't know if you still are, but I want people to like me. I want people to enjoy me. I'm the funny one. Um, I like to make people laugh, but if it comes down to it, between me having to be hurt, I've done this before where I just let myself be hurt for other people because that's what they feel like necessary because what's what you grew up with. You'll
Yeah.
take the hurt for somebody else all the time just to make them happy. That's not healthy. And
No.
I learned that the hard way because I did. I would always take over everybody else's burdens and hurt and everything like that and just take on everything to learn to be strong enough to say, you know what, fuck this. I'm not doing that no more. I need to live for me and not here to please everybody else. It's just not about them anymore.
Yeah. Dude. Fuck. Okay. Speaking of that, I want to go into some song lyrics because that's like perfect. There's a
Go for
song that I there's a song that I listen to a lot. I listened to it when my first engagement ended, and I listened to it when I got a divorce. And of course it's Reba, obviously. Um, it's a song, How Was I to Know? You know that
Yep.
one?
Hmm.
So oh, it's such a good one.
Yep.
And the lyric specifically is how was I to know that I'd be this strong? I had what it takes all along. How was I to know?
Yep.
Dude,
Hits.
it I'm almost crying. Like,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, listening to the whole lyric and everything like that, it does sink in. It does go to home because, I mean, and even not just because of the two, the first engagement and the marriage and everything, but I mean, it's in life, you know,
yeah,
it's just, yeah.
love it. So when it comes to that song, there, like I said, I definitely listened to it after the divorce. Like for me, my therapy was of course like therapy. And then it was also dirt roads and listening to songs with my
Mhm.
windows down. Like that's what I did. And I had so many weird looks from people. They're like, so that's just what you do? Like that's where you are right now? I'm like, yeah,
I did the
fuckers.
same.
And then I was like, this ain't enough. I need more. I want more. And I was like, road trips it is. We're going on fucking road trips because I need more of this feeling. And there is something that lives there when you're just driving on an old fucking dirt road with your windows down and you sing these songs and you're crying and there's so much emotion and the words mean something. Like
Yeah.
in my world, that's manifestation. In my world, that's creating your reality. At a scientific level and a neuroplasticity level, you are rewiring your mind and you're backing it with a strong emotion. Therefore, you are creating your reality. Like whether you're on science or spiritual, that's what I was doing. I didn't fucking really think about that. I just was singing Reba McEntire while I was driving on the road. But like, I remember singing it so many times and just bawling my eyes out. And I'm having flashbacks at the time of like, knowing I didn't want to get married, having those shots of whiskey with dad in the hotel before I got married. Like, I don't really want to do this. I don't think this is a good idea. And he's like, here's whiskey. Like flashbacks to just like childhood and teenage years and all this shit, just like screaming these lyrics and like such an empowering feeling of like I am strong enough to get through this, and I right now is living proof.
Mhm.
Me singing this song and declaring that I'm strong enough is the fucking proof and the evidence that I made it through all of that shit. I'm 100 for 100 right now. Like I got this. And it
Yeah.
creates a self-trust that is really necessary when you go through transitions in life and when you reinvent yourself and you start over. When you're starting over, you have to fucking trust yourself and bet on yourself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, taking those leaps and of faith is a big part of it because if you don't, you're just going to stay stuck.
Dude, what does it mean to you to reinvent yourself?
What do you mean? Like, what did I do? Or,
Any of it? Like,
uh, well,
let's start
let's
with the
just say
listener.
I'm a totally different person now than I was a year ago.
Right. Well, let's go to the listener first. Let's put the spotlight on them. The listener probably, if she's in the realm where she's listening to this podcast, she's probably reinventing her life, or she's had
Hmm.
pivotal life moments. or she's transforming, she's going inside and doing more of that inner work, and or even just fucking realizing that there's inner work to do, which is like a whole fucking mind fuck when one day you're like, oh, I have to go inside. I have to do this shit. Fuck. Okay. Like the listeners understands what it means to be in pivotal moments and to
Yeah.
reinvent, kind of like Phoenix from the ashes style.
Yeah.
So talking to that listener right now, what would you tell her from your wisdom in life about reinventing herself and trusting herself?
So I know this sounds harsh, but I firmly believe you need to remember you are part of the problem for yourself. I mean, you are. You are in control of your own person. Even though you've lived in the chaos and you subconsciously have this, you have to take control of it because you are part of the problem. I'm going to be like number one guilty here. Been there, done that. I've been married
Right.
twice. I've had two kids with two different men. Granted, my last marriage lasted a decade. But I mean, in that instance, I was part of the problem. I let all the red flags go and just said, "Oh, we'll move on past this." No, you're the problem at that point. You are creating your own monster, and you have to acknowledge that in order to start reinventing yourself. Because if
Mhm.
you don't, you're getting fucking nowhere.
You're
You
just gonna
know
walk around being the victim in life all the time.
exactly. And I again, I was very masculine. I honestly, I was up here all the time. Ask Heather. All the time. Like I was top up there, loud, chaotic all the time. And when you start reinventing yourself, not even just realizing who you really are, really,
Yeah.
and stop with the show that you don't realize you're putting on to mask all your other bullshit. Um,
Yep.
when you figure that out or have somebody come into your life to help you figure that out, it's taking a step back and saying, okay, what is my problems? What am I doing to cause my own chaos and bullshit? And that was a huge thing for me. Learning that there is always two sides to every story. Learning that it's not okay to constantly, downgrade people to make yourself happy. Like, granted, I didn't do a lot of that, but you're doing it sometimes without realizing it,
Right. Right.
and finding now that when I was up here, I'm probably halfway point now. I still have my moments where I
That's
can get a
fucking
little
success, bro.
I,
Cheers to you.
I get a little frisky sometimes, but I'm telling you, to be at a like even just I even speak calmer now. Like
You do.
it's kind of I've gotten told by several people that you sound just calm. I'm like, that's weird. I thought I always did, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, because that was your baseline. You didn't know it was your baseline, but it was your baseline.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, it's very helpful to have somebody come be your calm to your storm to help you calm down. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I have found a person that does bring that calm to me because it's almost like taking a huge breath of fresh air. You're like, oh, wow.
Dude, it's exactly what it's like. Well, and it's because the only way for you to be in that experience is to have that type of support and to be willing to look at shit. It doesn't matter if you have
Yeah.
the support if you're not willing to look at it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really have to start ridding your own toxic. I mean, and sometimes that's people. And
Yep.
me and Heather are, number one example. We rid toxic family members from our life because we
Many.
know it's not good for us. They keep trying to put their little smokes back in there, but you got to get to a part where you're like, no, like
Right.
if you're going to bring this toxic into my life, I'm not going to do it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not going to be the skin off my back.
Well, and you were the first of all three of us kids to really make a lot of those big
Oh, yeah.
decisions.
That's because they hated me. Because
Dude.
I put my foot down
Yeah.
young and said, this isn't right. I'm not going to partake in this. No. And
Yep.
I wasn't taking no for an answer from them because I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, you've never been scared to stand toe to toe with anybody.
Nope.
Yeah.
Never will. That's one
And
thing I did. That's a good trait I did get from our dad is,
dude, yeah, same. Same.
I am
I'll
not
go up to a
scared.
fucking 6'2" man and be like, what the fuck did you just say?
I've done it.
Right, right. Especially if we've been drinking whiskey.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That actually reminds me of another song that I wrote down. So another lyric that means a lot to me is from Aaron Tippin, because
Mhm.
everybody loves 90s music. From the song You Gotta Stand for Something. And the lyric is, you gotta stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Never compromise what's right.
Yep,
That
I agree.
when you were saying that, I was like, fucking right there, Lacey. You and Aaron Tippin on the same wavelength.
He puts on a pretty dang good concert back in the day too.
Fucking does. Dude, I saw him in concert. This was probably like 15 years ago now, if not more. But it was him and Joe Diffie and motherfuck.
This is also back when Heather didn't like me, so she didn't invite me.
Oh, I did like you. It was right. It wasn't when I got married the first time. It was before we got married. So this was like
Oh, you could
2013.
like me then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it wasn't quite 15 years ago. It was like 11 years ago. But it was Aaron Tippin, Joe Diffie, Sammy Kershaw. That was the other
Ah,
one. It was
gotcha.
a good fucking concert.
Yeah.
But okay, let's see. What are some other ones? What are some ones that you have? Or some
Um,
songs?
Beauty and the Struggle.
Mm,
It's not like a big song where it's airing on. I don't think it's airing on the radio.
I
I
don't
don't think.
know. For the listener, it's by an artist whose name is Brian Martin.
Yes. And if you stop and listen to that and just absorb the words, it hits home so much. Um, just talking about, all the struggle, but there is beauty in it if you just take the moment to realize the beauty and not focus on all the negatives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it really is. It's a song that because there's so much you have to do when you do this quote unquote work.
Yeah.
Because it's a dedication. It's a daily fucking commitment to
Yeah.
behaving better, speaking better, loving yourself more. Like it's all of it. And a very large piece of that is having the fucking guts and the willingness to look at the dark, to look at the corners, to look in the closets, to look at your demons, to look at the shit you feel shame about, guilt about, fear about. Like that's the fucking work. And it's also important to see the entire time that you're doing that back-breaking labor at times. Like, there's a reason I'm doing this, and my why I'm doing this is more important than if it's difficult. And paying attention to all those like beautiful moments or those moments of like, oh, now I see my improvements. I see these things changing in my life. It's really important to be able to do that. Otherwise, you can live in a cycle and you never really end it. You live in like a cycle of always feeling like there's something to fix.
Yeah. I, you know, I that's a big thing is just being able to recognize things. I mean, if you want to play victim, you can play victim all you want, but
Yeah.
you're never, ever going to find your peace. You just won't.
No. There was a video that I saw. I don't remember exactly how they set it up, but basically it's a therapist that I follow. And she was like, whenever you're having a situation, an argument, or an experience with someone who is dead set that they want to be the victim, and it's like a big ordeal, and like you're like, oh my fuck, like how do I get this person to chill or to realize like I'm not fucking after you, nobody's fucking after you, like relax. The best thing you can do for them, she said, is to just go ahead and be the villain because they're going to make you the villain
Yeah,
anyways.
for
And
sure.
there's no point in spending your energy trying to convince them that you're not, because when a person wants to be a victim, there's only two type of people that they call into their life, either the villains, because then they get to be the victim, or the heroes. And when they call in these heroes that they attach themselves to, eventually they turn the heroes into victim or into villains as well. So that again, they get to be a victim again, and a new hero gets to come in on a white horse and save them. And I saw that and I was like, well, I know that story. I've seen that play out. Like it really hit home because that could have easily been both of our lives if we chose to go down that path.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as we'd said before, last year I was a totally different woman. I mean,
Yeah.
I was going through a pretty not great divorce to a man I was with for a long time, and he was really, really good at playing the victim. It makes you sit back and be like, okay, was it me? Am I the problem? Which don't get me wrong, I'm part of the problem, but I was thinking, oh my God, is all this me? And then all these people like all the people who play those victims make up a lot of lies.
Yep.
And when they start coming back to you, it really hits you because you're like, I'm not that person. It got to a point where it was best for me just to walk away from it and be away from it because there's no changing their minds. It's just not a
Right.
thing. They won't. And trying to get them change their mind is just going to be, you're going to put yourself in a bad position because it's never going to happen, you
Right.
know.
Right. Dude, yeah, it's really fucking it's I think it's difficult no matter what if you're going through divorce. Divorces are hard, like point blank period.
Yep.
Even if it's super, super amicable, how do you say that word?
You're asking the wrong person.
We both know my stutter is not going to allow this. Okay, everybody knows what I'm talking about. The listener knows what I mean. Anyways, it doesn't matter if it's that or if it's a messy motherfucking divorce. Like divorces are heartbreaking and it's full of grief and it's full of confusion and loss and just all this stuff. And it is so much harder if the other person doesn't want to take responsibility. Now,
Oh yeah.
again, I also, just like Lacey, was part of the problem. Like my divorce ended because of a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons is because I was fucking done. I was done. I
See, that's
couldn't
where I was
have been
too.
more done. Like I remember from my experience, like I remember being done and very few people knew I was done. Very few people knew. It wasn't anybody's business. And for like my story, he was putting so much on Facebook trying to be like this really wonderful human out of left field all of a
Have
sudden.
you
I was like,
noticed that both of our exes like literally followed the same path? Me and you were just sitting there quietly while they're blasting all these things on Facebook or social medias and telling all these people all this stuff about you, and you're just like, I'm just gonna let them believe what they want to believe, I guess.
dude, because dude, there's one thing that it did, and I cried to you about this when we were on fucking vacation. One of the best things that ever happened to me was watching and observing people on how they spoke about me and treated me in the divorce because I learned real
Yep.
motherfucking quick who I could trust and who I couldn't trust anymore.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
by I was like, oh, I'm gonna say shit. I'm not gonna defend myself. I am not saying shit about fuck because I right now am watching. I'm watching everybody. If I
Hmm.
can trust you, we'll continue to stay connected. But if you show me your asshole right now, I'm gonna remember that I saw your asshole.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna trust you anymore. And I know that no matter if you're talking to a coach, a therapist, or just a woman who went through a divorce, that's what divorce does. One of the many things is it shows you who really is there for you. And you
Yeah.
will be fucking shocked and disappointed in the amount of friends and family that have to fall away after a divorce because of some shit they do. And then you're also going to be surprised by who sticks in your corner. Not that there's sides. I think sides is a stupid thing, but
Yes.
people that instead of assuming the worst about you, assume the best about you.
Hmm.
And they do that, or at least assume neutral, right? They're Switzerland on it. They're like,
Yep.
listen, people fuck up, people do stupid shit. I've done stupid shit. They probably did stupid shit. Those people that stay there, you'll be surprised. There were some motherfuckers that stood by my side. I'm like, here.
Well, and that's, I think, something that people need to understand, like, especially for people who are listening, is you're going to go through that path. You're going to feel so fucking alone,
Yeah,
so
dude.
alone. And it is hard because you feel like everybody hates you. Everybody, your family, I mean, because if you were with who we were with, they go after the family too.
Yeah, man.
And let the family know how terrible you were when you're like, I didn't do those things. But you're going to feel alone and it's going to be put you in a terrible, terrible depression and make you, I mean, you might go through your streak where you just want to drink a few days. Do it. Be safe. Do it.
Right.
Um,
Do your shit.
yeah, but to know it gets better. It finally it does get better. It might feel like it's never going to get better. I know at my spot, I think it was right around when we went on our trip. That's the way I felt. Like I felt so alone. I felt like I had nobody. And
Yeah.
nothing against Heather, but I mean, in general, like even though I know I had some people in my family, I still felt like, I mean, I'd be laying there at night and be like, I have nobody I can call. I have nobody I
Yeah.
can talk to. I don't know what to do. So you just sulk in it. It
Yep.
gets, it does. I promise.
Dude, such wise words. I'm sure somebody needed to hear that. Like it does. It feels like you're in a quicksand by yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you're just sinking and sinking. But I'm telling you, in my belief, I remember one day sitting there in my truck, and I was a crier in my truck. I don't cry in front of people. It's my thing. I don't show weak. My biggest thing is you don't show weakness.
All right,
Um,
Scooter.
where do you think I got it? That's our
You
dad.
definitely got that from our dad.
In my truck, I'm my most vulnerable when I was in my truck and I was listening to music, and I literally would sit there and talk to God. And I'd
Yeah.
be like, God, this is what I need in my life. And he showed up, and he showed up in full fucking force. And I asked him specifically, because I was at a point where I'm like, there is nobody in this world for me. There
Mhm.
is nobody, because I'm a lot. I'm a lot. Uh, but I felt like there is nobody in this world. And I was coming to that point where I was comfortable with that, knowing that, there's just not somebody out there for me. And when I was sitting there asking God, I'm like, if you bring somebody into my life, bring somebody into my life who's kind and compassionate and calm and all this. He literally delivered in a different state, randomly, totally weird, but he delivered in full force. And I'm telling you, just sitting there and talking about it, even if you just need to talk to God, talk to yourself, talk to your vehicle, I don't know, talk to your
Talk to the
dog.
universe. Talk to the
Yeah,
fucking sky. Talk to something bigger than you.
get it out. I
Yeah.
mean, it I'm a firm believer it works because I'm telling you that happened, and a couple months later I found literally the most kindest, sweetest person in my entire life that I mean has changed my life so much for the better. It works. I mean, I have been following that path of, you know, ask and shall receive, meet them halfway. You
Yeah.
got to do the work, but
Right.
it will happen. It gets to that point where you have to just get it out.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. Like I said, manifestation
Yeah.
or answered prayers because it's the same shit. It's the same
Yeah.
exact thing. Like
We have
it's,
two different beliefs, but the same belief in a different way.
yeah, same belief, just different words, different understandings. Not even different understandings, just different words. And it really, it does mean a lot in those times. And I think this is a little nugget that I want to pull out of that is when you're in the dark times, you have to speak. You can't be in your head the whole time. You
No,
got to
not the
be
whole time.
emotional. Like it is so important to speak and to get it out and to cry. Emotions are important. Don't I love you, Lace, but don't do what Lacey does and don't refuse emotion. You're so much better at it now. You're so much better at showing
I'm
emotion now.
better at it now. And it's not that I didn't show emotion. I just didn't feel like it was necessary to give my emotions to everybody.
Agreed. That's a great. I think that's a better way than it shows weakness because I think that
Because it
that's
does
where
make
you
it
were.
for people.
Yeah. Well, the it shows weakness was like a couple chapters ago, Lacey,
Yes.
and now it's you're more selective and you have different types of boundaries with your
Yes.
emotions for sure.
Mhm.
So that's a go. That's a green light for sure. But like when you're in those times, you really have to pay attention to the emotions that are happening inside of you. Because if you don't feel those emotions and process them and fucking look at them and deal with them, then they're going to come out in different ways, but they're going to come out in the ways that you behave. And they're
Yeah.
going to come out in the ways you self sabotage or in the ways that you fucking just do stupid shit.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know about Heather, but I did a little bit of self sabotage after the divorce because, I mean, we all
Same.
go through a moment,
I was a
and
hoe.
thank I wasn't.
I was a
Uh,
hoe.
well, hang
Such
on.
a hoe.
Pause. I tried to be a hoe and then it stuck.
Dude,
Thankfully,
I'm Lacey, who the fuck are you telling I'm marrying my one night stand? The fuck are you talking about?
hey, well, I'm not marrying him. Hang on, that didn't come out right. We're
You
not
just went
engaged.
straight. You guys just went straight. He's gonna be like, I'm sorry, we're doing what now?
We live together.
Right. Dude, no, for real though. Yes, what you were saying.
It's gone now. What funny?
No, no, it really is. It's important to pay attention in those moments to what it is that you're calling into your life because you
Yeah,
really are calling in a lot of stuff.
because you can call bad shit into your life. If you
Easily.
continuously say that nothing's going to go right for me, this and that, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to get anything by being a negative freaking Nancy.
No.
Be
Or
a
always
positive.
focus. Being positive Patsy, is that what you said?
I said Patty, but I think I like Patsy better. Reminds me of Patsy Cline.
Same, same, same.
Yep.
Let's go into the last song I wrote down from the incredible Pam Tillis, 90s country again.
Mm.
From This is one of my favorite songs in the whole fucking
You
world.
look like a
The
bunny rabbit.
I do. This is what I don't know about you. Spicy brain, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I do this thing when I'm doing something with my dominant hand and my left hand will just like turn into a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
You look like
Um,
the lady off of Legally Blonde. What's her name?
oh,
I think it's
Jennifer, what's her
Snap.
face? Yeah.
Snap. Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. Dude, no. Anyways, I digress. This song is so good. It's called My Vida Loca. I know I'm saying that wrong. I do not speak Spanish. I'm really terrible with it, so my apologies. However, the lyric is, if you're coming with me, you need nerves of steel because I take corners on two wheels. That if I could give you that's 2016 to 2018 Heather right there. That is bitch has bright red hair. She's coming in on two wheels. She is reckless as fuck. That's that song. What about for you?
I mean, I think I tried to, my reckless moment. I don't know if we want to go into the story about North Carolina or not, do we? It's a
I feel
lot.
like we'll end up talking about something that eventually we're going to be like, we shouldn't have shared with the whole world that.
Well, let's just get to the point is, I went to a different state for a wedding and I was
Yeah,
there. I'm like, I'm here for a wedding. I'm not here to see, I want nothing to do with guys
right.
out of my life. Well, that didn't happen. Um, I thought I was having a one night stand. Well, it turned out he was the best person I've ever met. And he was going through the same shit. Like he was still
Yeah,
reinventing himself. And like, so, the biggest thing is, well, don't get together when you're both at the lowest because you're going to do, no, we built each other up.
yeah,
I don't know how that happened, but we found each other in the most weird way, but that's what happened.
yeah. Dude, I get 1,000% agree with you. I think that Travis and I's relationship is as strong as it is and as loving as it is and open and all these other things that I never thought I would have. Like I
Mm-hmm.
dreamed of it. I had a Pinterest board, but like I never actually
I didn't have
fucking
that.
thought that I would have like a fucking romantic movie relationship.
Right? It felt like, do you remember when I called you and be like, I think this just happened out of a damn novel?
Yeah,
Remember?
you were like, this is like a fucking romantic comedy, Heather. And I'm
And
like,
I'm
it
like,
sounds like it.
fucking pitch me or pinch me because I don't think this is real. Is this real? And I think I talked to you for an hour, like saying the same thing. Is this real?
Right. Yeah. Well, because you once you reach a point with somebody, like something clicks. And I'm a big believer that your heart and your soul know. Like at a soul level, your spirit knows their spirit. And
Yeah.
something clicks. And Travis and we joke about it. We say it a lot. Like we were two hurricanes when we met each other. We were fucking
Right.
hurricanes. And we were both like, I was at the lowest I've ever been in my
Me
whole
too.
life, other than when I was a teenager. Like it was a dark time for me, 2016 and 2018. I looked great. I got the divorce skinnies. I dyed my hair bright
I did
red.
too. I lost 60 pounds.
Right? Well, I lost like, I mean, we both did. I lost like 300 and some because I also lost like a whole person.
Oh,
So, like, I got the divorce skinnies. Like, I was looking good. I was running company. I was bartending on the side. I was preparing to move to Tennessee. I was going on these road trips. Like, I was living. And I was also the darkest I've ever been. I was facing some demons inside.
it
Like,
was
I
like we
was.
were masking our shit.
Yeah, dude. And like when you find somebody that's going through that, like you said, in this reinvention, because
Mhm.
reinvention is messy. And I think that that's something I think the listener needs
Yeah.
to listen.
Yes.
Reinvention is messy. Life is messy. This is not fucking bouquets of roses, even though we're recording this on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way, Lacey.
Oh, hey, yeah. By the way, we both hate this holiday and we're learning to
Hate
love it
it.
again. And that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. We're learning to love it again because it
agree.
has been one day of the year that we've all hated. And it's not because of just love, because of
No,
something always happened on this day and we're making it better.
I agree. I'd like to touch on that too, because I think that's something that people would really like to connect with, because I think that that's a human experience a lot of us share, not just with Valentine's Day, but with like a date really like sticking hard.
Yeah.
But Travis and I did the same thing. Like we met and we decided it was a decision that we didn't even make. It was a decision that our fucking souls made. Again, like it was just happening one day where he was becoming better and I was becoming better. And we were making these individual steps towards improvement and self-development and healing. And then we started doing it together more and more. And it just became this moment where I was like, oh, this is what they write books about. This is what they write songs about.
It's weird.
What?
It's
Yeah.
weird to come into that because you're like, oh my God, something's going to go wrong. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you're always waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I just recently have gotten to the point where I'm not waiting for that anymore. Because
So
when you
good
wait
for
for
you.
it, it happens. Like it just recently happened because I was always like, okay, but what do you want? Like, what's going to happen? To be
Yeah,
able to be like, nothing's going to happen. It's nice. But the
it
thing is, you
is.
have to get your headset to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and your body too. Like
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the things that I missed with traditional therapy. And no matter how much self-development work I did, I still had the same things coming up because it lived in my body. And
Yeah.
I knew that. I was aware of it. I was working on it, but I didn't understand how important that part was. I didn't realize that was the important part, was getting it out of your fucking body, getting it out of your nervous system, no longer being in survival, because it doesn't matter. Like I mean, it does matter. Your mindset does fucking matter. Like that's very important. But if you just keep rewiring and doing the neuroplasticity work, if you're not involving the body, then the trigger's always going to be there. So whenever you're in a moment that reminds your body of a past experience, your body is going to respond. And then that will create thoughts that are self-sabotaging. And I
Yes.
didn't fucking, like, I knew that, but I wasn't seeing it in my life because it's always harder to see your shit than it is to see somebody else's shit. Like, it's harder to look in a mirror. But, anyways, one thing that I wanted to touch on, like I said, was Valentine's Day. So, real quick, because I just noticed what time it was. Can I keep you past a few minutes?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Cool. So, Valentine's Day for us, and I mean, I do want to preface this by saying I'm in a space where what I believe is, and I know that we might differ on this belief, Lace. I believe our parents did what they had the capacity, knowledge, and support to do. I don't want to say that they did the best they could.
No, I don't
Sometimes
believe that.
I don't think they did. Um, but I also kind of do at times. I don't think it's black and white. I think it's too gray. I think life is too gray to say one way or another. But I say this because Valentine's Day in our household, love was always really hard in our
Mm.
house. Love, affection, compassion were not something that we were well versed in. And the day that, most people or some people celebrate love, Valentine's Day, always was fighting in our house.
Yeah.
Always. And not just fighting, but like motherfucker fighting, like scary, like kids stay in your rooms, go play, go get your brother out of his crib, fighting.
Yeah.
And the year that it all for me, and I think for you, right, with the car crash was the big
Yep.
one. Yeah.
Yep.
So that
I
year,
still remember the song that was playing.
what wasn't it Toby Keith?
It was Toby Keith. How do you like me now?
It was, oh fuck. I wished I remembered that wrong because whenever I hear that song, I'm like, mother song, song now. Sorry, hate's a strong word. Don't want to use it. Dislike that
I
song.
love Toby, but that song always, yeah.
Yeah, gross. But we were from my memory, we were at home that day. There was a bad snowstorm, an ice storm,
Hmm.
and we were getting ready. There was a fight, per the usual, and we got kind of dragged to the car. And
We
I
were going to
remember,
4-H meeting, picking up Sarah, our cousin Sarah and Kristen.
yeah, and that was a drive-in rural area. We lived in the rural area,
Hmm.
and the fight created a lot of chaos as we were getting into the car. Like I said, like a lot of like pushing and shoving and like get your
Well,
ass
that's
to the
the day
car.
that divorce was filed. That's why.
Well, yeah, but we didn't know that yet.
No, no, no.
So we we were in the car. I was in the back seat. You were in
Hmm.
the front, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were in the front, the passenger. Cole and I were in the back. And I was listening to my CD player because this was during
Walkman.
those times, my Walkman. And because one of my survival coping mechanisms that I created at a young age was I would disassociate. I would go
Yeah.
into my own world. I would go and listen to music and just block everything out and shut down because everything was always crazy. And so I'm in my own world. And I remember on that motherfucking turn or curve on the
Mhm.
preemption blacktop, we went around that curve and I felt the car shift when we started to fucking hydro or not hydro, but
We were
black
swerving on black
ice.
ice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember I looked up and it was all screaming, which it was chaos from the beginning of this car ride, right?
Yeah.
So it was very chaotic 15 minutes. And I remember we started spinning and I don't remember exact, but I just remember kind of almost coming to peace with the fact that that might be it. Like,
Oh, really?
I don't, and I'm that might sound dramatic, but it wasn't like this, like, come to Jesus moment. It was a release of control. It
Yeah.
was I can't do anything right now other than just be like, this could be it. And I remember putting my arm across
No,
and like,
you had both your hands on the Walkman thing. You might have brought your arm at one thing because you were protecting your friend's
just,
CD.
yeah, right. Well, and that's how I ended up getting the fucking worst part. So I
Like,
hit the
wow.
car, right. The car wrapped around a telephone pole right where my door was. So I hit my right side of my head. I don't even know full throttle. I don't know the fucking ER report. Nobody ever really told me. I just remember they were like, oh, you're alive.
It's yeah, it smacked your eye. I remember they were worried about you losing your eyesight because your eyes swelled up so huge.
Yeah, yeah. They had told me I might not have an eye. And if I did, I probably wouldn't have good vision and like all this stuff. But like I remember I reached across because I had like chest hit. Well, I couldn't remember if it was you or Cole. And sometimes I remember and sometimes I
Well,
don't. It's
I think you
whatever.
must have let go because I remember you might have reached across, but then Cole went down.
He went down under, yeah, into the
Yeah,
under the seat.
and he got stuck under the seat. My seat came back over Cole
Yeah,
and came. Yeah, I remember all that because I remember you were in mode like you were like almost in shock, and then
yeah.
I'm getting. I was like in mode like, okay, what do we do? I held on for dear damn life, and I got
Dude.
out to get Cole out, so we're trying to get the seat off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awful. Like I remember going across the street to
Yeah.
that farmhouse and I remember like the paramedics, of course, I remember them like telling me they had to cut my shirt off because I was covered in blood. And I
Hmm.
was like, don't cut my shirt off because one of the kids that I went to school with lived in that house and he was like standing in the kitchen watching the paramedics like
Yep.
do all this. I'm like, don't take my shirt off of me in front of people.
And the paramedic is somebody who we're really close with now, but
Yeah.
we all had a crush on him then.
Like it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And like we get to the hospital. And so or not Fourth of July, Valentine's Day, already rough, super extra rough on this day. Get to the hospital. I find out that I might not have an eye. Like I might not have a working eye, or I might not have vision. Like we're in limbo. And I remember sitting there and fucking our fucking parents. Again, I don't know. I don't know what it would be like to be in that scenario. I don't know as an adult what that would be like, how I would tell my I don't fucking know. But all I know as the kid is to go through that and then be told, "Oh, by the way, we filed for divorce today." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I remember that. And but the thing is, it was one parent who said it to almost kind of like sabotage and make us hate the other parent.
Well, see, I had both at different points talk to me.
Well, yes, but I remember told us your dad did this to us and this is why this happened. And I'm like,
Oh, dude, the manipulation.
yeah. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. It's just this story that we're sharing with you guys. I want you to think of something in your life that you've carried around as a baggage, as as this luggage that maybe the handles are razor blades, right? Because that's what disliking Valentine's Day, I know this is a silly little example, but that's what disliking Valentine's Day has been for Lacey and I. This
Yeah.
luggage that we've carried around that has razor sharp edges on the handles because it didn't just signify this dislike for a holiday or not wanting to celebrate it. It goes deeper than that. Everything goes deeper than that. And the deeper was it was really difficult for Lacey and I to give and receive love, to give and
Yeah.
receive affection, to give and receive trust. And that holiday really was like a bow tied on it. We were like, fuck all of it because look at all this examples of why.
Hmm.
And it took us at different times in our lives and different reasons deciding not just to start having better days and no longer have that be the reason that we looked at that day, no longer letting the past live on that day. We chose to start letting what is possible and the good times and the memories be a part of that day. And not just that day, but that day's always stuck out to us. So it was really interesting that we ended up, and it was purpose that we had this podcast on Valentine's Day. It just happened. And then we were like, oh, what an interesting fucking day for us to have this conversation.
Right.
So how do you feel about shifting that perspective and giving this day a new meaning now?
Well, I think, going through all these years, because well, crap, that was over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, we're old. But that was so long ago, and to sit and think about it, we went all these years when we almost kind of self-sabotage it because we're like, what's going to happen today?
Exactly.
And even if it didn't happen to me a lot, but if somebody would try to do something nice for me on that day, I'm like, why? Like I would self-sabotage a little bit, which again didn't happen much. I didn't have great people in my life, but to let that go and say, you know what? I'm going to make this day a good day. I'm going to
Mhm.
celebrate it like the way it should be celebrated. Granted, I will 100% to this day, up till today, I'm like, I hate Valentine's Day. I want nothing to do with it. And then yesterday I sat there, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going
Yeah.
to, for the first time in 20 plus years, I'm not going to do that. You
Yeah.
know, it's just sitting back and saying, stop, to not put that negative energy into it.
Yeah. I love that for you. I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to have a new chapter with it because that's an old, gnarly chapter.
We've had great life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we really have. We have definitely been the souls that come to this earth to learn a lot of lessons, gain a lot of wisdom real quick.
Right? I mean, we've had a lot of tough learning, but to learn from all of our and sit back and learn from it is the biggest thing. Stop repeating the constant things that we kept doing. To sit
Yeah.
back and say, okay, what do we need to change?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up, but I have some questions for you.
go for it.
So we talked about reinvention a little bit. What does resilience mean to you?
Well, I'm the epitome of it.
Same Z's. That's why I have it tattooed on me.
I feel like I'm resilient because but you have to kind of put yourself into that position because if you're not resilient, you're failing. You're dying. You're done. You have to be resilient. You have to get through it all. Or what do you, especially when you have kids,
Yep.
you have to. Are you
Yeah.
going to go up? That's a big, I actually just had this conversation with my son because we were talking about, this new relationship of mine and it's a big deal for him too, because he's not getting yelled at. He's being helped. He's has somebody who does care. And, be, teaching that moment saying, do we seem happy now? And
Yeah.
having him sit because this is a big adjustment for him and for him to sit there and say, well, yeah, we do. I said, that's what we need to look at, not the negative. And then
Yeah.
having that big eye-opening thing, that's resilience. You have to get through that. You have
Yeah.
to realize the good.
Dude, it is the one thing that I hope the listener takes from this conversation is when you are reinventing yourself, when you are transforming, healing, changing, use whatever fucking term you want to use. It's all the same stuff.
Mhm.
When you're doing that, you must be resilient and you must bet on yourself. You have
Absolutely.
to bet on yourself. And that's hard because trusting yourself is hard. In order to trust yourself, you have to know who you are. In order to know who you are, you have to look at your darkest corners. In order to look at your darkest corners, you have to be aware that you're sometimes the motherfucking problem. Like you said, like you have to do all this shit and it's not overnight. It's not easy. It's embarrassing. It's heavy and it's hard at
And you're never
times.
going to be perfect. You're just,
No, no. And if you don't have resilience, you're not going to make it through that.
mhm.
You're not going to make it through looking at that first fucking darkness in the corner of your own mind or in your own heart or the forgiveness you need to give yourself, the forgiveness you need to give others. Like You have to have resilience to make it through the experiences that create those darker moments within inside of you, but you have to have the resilience as well to look at the darkness, face the fucking darkness, and walk the fuck through it.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
if you don't have that, then there's no way for you to build a self-trust for you to have evidence to see that you are capable.
Yeah. Yep.
Love it. What advice would you give a woman right now who's listening? So the listener who's in reinvention, she's restarting her life. What advice would you give her?
Don't give up.
Nice.
Don't just say this is it for me because I tried that. It didn't work. Um,
Right, same.
you gotta push through it because if you sit there and if you keep yourself stuck in that spot, if you don't actually put the effort in, you will stay stuck and that's giving up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, I mean, it's hard sitting here saying, we know we're not saying this, just do it. Listen to our advice. We've been through it. Ow, that hurt. Um, we've been through it and we've experienced it and it's going to be extremely hard. So you have to, you can't give up.
Yeah. You have to also, you're listening to two women who grew up in a small town. Everybody dies famous in a small town.
Oh, love that song. Best karaoke song here.
It really is the best karaoke. Um, if you grew up in a small town, listener, or if you live in a small town right now, this is even everything we're discussing 20 times harder because
Yes.
everybody's
Everybody
in
will
your
talk about you.
business. Oh, Lordy. Everybody's going to meet up at the Casey's or meet up at the Quick Trip or meet up at the fucking small hole in the wall bar, Knoxville Tap or some shit. Everybody's going to drink on it or drink coffee on it. Everybody's going to know, or they're going to think they know, or they're going to spread rumors. They're going to say some stupid shit and show their ass. That's the times when you have to really remember who you are.
I had an entire town literally hate me since I was a child because of what our mother had said about me. So I get it. I had
It's
people say,
wild.
huh?
That's wild that that happened too.
Oh, I know. I didn't even do any, all because I knew what she was doing is wrong. So she went around saying all these things about me. And it's such a small town, it gets around fast.
Right.
And so I wasn't even allowed to play with some kids. I wasn't because I was a bad influence. I really, honestly, in my point of view, I was not a bad kid. I
No.
was, I mean, granted, as I became a teenager, yeah, I went to parties, but I was a safe one. I was one like, don't you drink and drive. Never touched a drug in my life. I mean, I was very safe about things and very kind to people. And yet I was pictured as what I was called Satan spawn. So, I mean,
Dude, I don't know how you fucking made it through sometimes because listener, I need you to know, like we're just being honest. Like we're not pointing fingers. Like if you don't want to look like an asshole, don't be an asshole. Okay? Like that's
mm-mm,
we're just telling you what happened. The fact that our own mother on many occasions to your face, to me, to other humans, called you her daughter, spawn of Satan,
yeah,
is a mind fuckery. I don't, it makes it even more clear to me why you have such a deep connection with God and why you are so deeply religious and why your faith is how it is. How could you have not? How could you have
yeah.
not turned to something, whatever it is, spiritual, religion, I don't give a fuck, just something higher. If you were told since you were a child that you're the spawn of Satan. Like I remember hearing it and just being like,
I remember when I had one of my first boyfriends, he came just to hang out with me, very innocent. We were walking down the road picking mulberries. His mom found out that he was with me. She came flying up and told him to get in the truck and stay away from me. I'm bad news. And I'm like, what did I do? I was a girl who worked 3 jobs in high school just to make it by.
right.
What did I do wrong? I
Dude, it's
literally
so
was just
wild.
having a conversation with a boy, completely innocent. I was a very innocent person. Well, up to that part.
You did some shit, but what not right then.
Not right then. But I mean, just that feeling to like, what did I do?
Mhm.
And it all stemmed back to that. I had such a bad name for myself because of one person saying so many horrible things about me. I mean, she had a psychiatrist thinking I was this horrible person. And finally, my father took me to a different psychiatrist that didn't know my mom, that didn't know the situation, and said, she's perfectly fine. Like, I don't
Right.
know why we're here. And I
Right.
finally got going to therapy.
Right. Dude, that it was just a wild experience. Like, I think that with nothing else, the listener, because like I'm pretty open. I have certain things I have boundaries about still
Mhm.
about sharing, like with the whole motherfucking world, of
Yeah.
course. But I feel like the listener knows a lot about me and my story. And I'm pretty vulnerable because like this work requires vulnerability and connection. And I'm sure now that they've just listened to us talk, they're like, this bitch is not joking about her life. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Because like I remember the first time you and I really started talking about this stuff as adults, that night in Tennessee when you were there, we are on the back porch and like so many things started to come up in my memories and
Well,
like we were
you had a
finishing.
vision of me in your head also because you were with our mother and I wasn't.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
you had a vision who I was, and it was not at all what I am.
Right. Well, that and we were like finishing each other's sentences because we were having memories. We were like
Yeah.
talking about all this stuff. Like all these things were coming up. And it was very validating because we talked about how divorce can be lonely. It's really lonely when you grow up in a house that's that unstable and that
Oh, yeah.
unsafe.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
a very lonely experience. It's a very scary
That's
experience.
why I became such an animal person because I turned to my horses or my dogs, and that's who I had to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. I turned to Slipknot and Corn and Johnny Cash. I was like, give me all the music right now. Well, I really appreciate you being here and I really appreciate you sharing your story. Can you share with us one last thing before you leave? What I feel like this is a piece of advice that only you can give. Of all the times you've ever been knocked down in your life, what helped you get back up? Bitch! Okay, if you're not watching the video, if you're not on YouTube right now, she just showed me her tattoo that says she is stronger, which I love.
I firmly believe that I am strong. I am unlike a lot of women, if maybe even whoever's listening. I am a very strong individual, strong-minded person. You tell me I can't do something, watch me. I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
I because I've been told my entire life you can't do this, you're not going to be nothing, this and that. Watch me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my standpoint on it. I'm stronger than that. I'm not going to sit back and have you tell me I can't do anything because I will get through this. I
Mm-hmm.
will find a way. I will find a way to get through this. And when you get to that and trusting in God a little bit, in my point of view,
Yeah.
uh, I put a lot of faith in him this past year. And there was some points I'm like, that faith's not going to work here. And it's every day I'm realizing, oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm taking a little bit of that burden and handing it over and saying, I need your help a little bit. And he's coming through,
Yeah.
you know.
Dude, and I think that that is the most important thing across the board, regardless of what your religion is, because there are so many. Regardless of what your spiritual practices are, because there are so many, because they're all the same thing. It's all faith.
Yeah.
It's all faith. Every bit of it is faith in
And if
something
you don't
bigger.
have faith in God, have faith in yourself.
Exactly. Have
Yes.
faith that you can do it and that you're capable, and have faith that there is something supporting you. Even if you can't see it, trust in your heart that there is something. Even if it's just like, oh, is it aliens? Sure. Fucking have faith that aliens have your back. Like, I don't give a shit. Have faith that something has your back.
Yeah. You have to because trust me, I had nobody. I had
Yeah.
I had my horses and my dogs. And
Right.
I mean, that's who I had.
You
No,
were just like a barefoot, crazy hair little Mowgli son of a bitch out there with all your animals. You're out there like talking sign language to the horses or
here's the
some
thing
shit.
though. Here is my way of thinking even as a child. They're going to love you no matter what.
Yeah.
They're going to love you when you come up to a dog and all it wants to do is love from you. That's the only love that I had was
Yeah.
from my dogs or my horses. Like they thoroughly loved me. It didn't matter the kind of person I was. They loved me. And that's where I'm a dog groomer now. I have horses now. I had a farm, you know.
Yeah. I love that for you. It's a sad start to that type of connection, but I'm a huge believer that we are put here on this earth, and some of our hardest lessons are the reason we are put here on this earth.
Yeah. And I
And
firmly believe they were put here for a reason.
yeah, oh, 1,000%. And
Yeah.
like you had to learn how to connect with animals in that way for a reason. There's a
Hmm.
reason.
Yep.
All right, dude. So before we go, I'm going to talk to the listener real quick so you can just like sit back, crunch your knuckles, do whatever, because I'm going to talk to you, listener. You starting right now. I don't know when you're listening to this. This is coming out on March 7th. So whenever you're listening to this, if it is before March 11th, I need you to fucking listen. If you're driving, pay attention. If you can, get a piece of paper and a pen out. March 11th is your final day. The doors close March 11th at 11:11 p.m. for the spring retreat. The spring retreat is everything Lacey and I were talking about. The spring retreat is exactly how to rewire your mind and exactly how to do the neuroplasticity steps to no longer sit in the chaos Lacey and I were talking about. Those chaotic thoughts, the fearful thoughts, the worst case scenarios, the downward spirals, the I'm not good enough. We're going to work on that. We're going to work on the somatic pieces here on how to release this from your body, how to calm your nervous system, how to be able to receive love, receive affection. I don't tell you guys that I know how to do this work because I pulled it out of my asshole when I read a book. I did pull it out of my asshole. I did read a book and I have been applying it for years. And I know it now because my fucking ass could not receive affection. I could not, I was terrified of it. I still work on that. So I'm going to teach you everything that I know. I'm also going to teach you everything I know about the soul work. There's a lot of soul work that goes into this. Lacey and I don't really have these conversations, but this is something that I teach is how to do this, what you might hear generational curse breaking. What this is there are certain behaviors, certain ways of being, certain patterns, certain thought processes, all these things that we pass down in our families. And especially when it comes to the mothers and the daughters, we pass down, and epigenetics shows us that we're passing it down in a much deeper cell level. And when you do ancestral work or lineage work, you're breaking these generational curses. And that's a very dramatic way to talk about these, but that's what it is. It's a generational thing. Happened through the lineage. Is probably your mom and your grandma and your great, like it probably goes back for a really long motherfucking time. And the soul piece of this is forgiveness. It's to recognize how it's been alive in your family, how it's alive within you. It's to reconnect you with universe, God, source, spirit, divine, so whatever the fuck you want to call it, creator. It's to reconnect you with the earth, like Lacey was talking about. You are nature. It's not like Lacey is a human and these are just animals and they're no, Lacey is nature, the horse is nature, the earth is nature. Lacey's reconnecting with something that means something to her. We're going to talk about that in the spring retreat. I also have two guest teachers that are coming in per the usual. We have guest teachers. We have Katie Henricks, Coach Katie Henricks, who's going to be there. Coach Katie does a lot with sensuality, learning how to be very much in your feminine power. So if you ever have felt like in the bedroom you feel a little stiff or you're not sure you can be totally yourself, or maybe you want to flow a little bit more, she's going to teach you how to step into your feminine power. She's going to teach you about femininity, sensuality, and really a lot of intimacy pieces she's going to talk about. And then also Letty, my incredible Letty Serta, is going to be there. She is a former one-on-one client, and now she is a self-worth and self-love coach and mentor. And she's going to be there to teach you about romanticizing your life, self-love, self-care, how to take care of yourself. And one of her biggest things that she teaches is that you are your own love story. And the first person you need to fall in love with is yourself. And she's going to teach you step by step on how to do that. And with the spring retreat, of course, we do the work there. I'm not just going to lecture you on what to do. And then I'm like, okay, have a fucking fun week. I'll see you at our next live call. We do it there. We are doing this hands-on so you can feel the immediate holy shit light bulb moment. You can immediately feel the energy leave your body. I also do a lot of energy work inside of this retreat. And you're also going to have big moments on your own where you have epiphanies and you have dreams where you're like, this is very synchronistic. This is very wild. Like, what's going on? We're doing the fucking work. And per the usual, it's planned around the eclipses, because if the energy is already fucking happening around us and you're going to have shit come to the surface during that time, we might as well fucking look at it and be prepared for it. So spring retreat starts March 12th. It goes until April 9th. It is Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central. You only have until March 11th to get your seat. There are regular access and VIP access. Regular access is $333. There are payment plans, and VIP option gets you private support and a couple extra goodies, and that is $577. And of course, there's a payment plan for that as well. So that's my little spiel that I want to tell them because this is coming out the Friday before we start. Lacey, have you ever been to a retreat or like anything like that?
Mm-mm.
No?
Nope.
I was gonna ask you to give them your opinion on a retreat, but if that's not the
My
case,
opinion is I don't have one because I've never been to one.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. I will tell the listener right now, if you have never experienced sitting in a room or an online Zoom call with women from all over the world who all are in the same type of space as you, where they're reinventing themselves or transforming or starting over or whatever it is, figuring out who the fuck they are, which is a huge piece of this. Like, who am I even? And also, what do I like and what do I not like? If you've never been in a space like that, it's really cool, especially if you've had something Lacey and I know a lot about, female wounds. If you've ever, maybe your mom was your first bully, if there's anything like that, it's very important to come into these spaces so you can learn how to trust women and you can learn how to trust them in really vulnerable times, especially when you're opening up and healing and doing a lot of self-healing. So please come and join us in a spring retreat. The next one does not come around until the fall. Of course, there's a spring and a fall every year, but the fall is much different. We focus a lot more on healing your relationship with money in the spring, a lot more about your body and reconnecting with it. We use a lot of the feminine energy that's already alive during the springtime. So I think that's all that I have. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up by reminding you guys to go be kind to yourself and be kind to others. So, Lacey, which one do you want to take? Do you want to tell them how to be kind to themselves or be kind to others today?
I would say be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I mean,
How?
if you don't, I mean, you're going to constantly stay in that negative energy. Like I keep talking about, you have to look, go get dressed up, make yourself pretty for the day. Why? Just because you want to.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
don't
when
need
you
a
look
reason.
good, you feel good.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck yeah. Go be kind to others. I think I'm going to take what Lacey said and kind of use that. You don't know what somebody else is going through. You have no idea. Now, that's not an excuse for people to be total assholes. I've been a total asshole, and it was an excuse for me. It's not an excuse for anybody. If you're going through something or you just got out of it and you go have this experience with another human and this other human is being kind of difficult, send them some love. Have fucking boundaries. Take no shit, but also send them love. Um, Usually the people that are the most difficult are the ones that need the most love. That doesn't mean that you need to be a walked mat. It does mean, though, that it's your responsibility to figure out how to open your heart in your own way. So if you, maybe the cashier at fucking Walmart is a dick today when you go, send them love and just be like, you know what? I'm not going to have a conversation with you, but I hope you have a good day and I hope life treats you well. Be kind to others doesn't always mean that you have to go out of your way and say something and do this big grand gesture that really locks it in. It can simply be that you decide to send somebody love from your heart as you're walking through a store. So do the things that you have to do to make your heart feel good and put more good out into the world. And that's going to be it for today's episode. Lacey, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
We'll see you guys soon. Have a good day.